Hey, what is up, everybody? This is Stevie Breach coming to you here today as we're talking all about WWE Survivor Series 2017. I have honestly been so hyped for this show since TLC. I don't know if it's Kurt Angle's announcement that he was coming back and he was going to wrestle at TLC, or how good the TLC main event was, or just basically how a pay-per-view that I thought was just blew up to being a really, really good show. Sort of got me fired up for some WWE. But I honestly have been talking about Survivor Series for about a month now. And I've never known a card that has had so many changes on the way into the pay-per-view. With this week right now, we're done with Raw, we're done with SmackDown. But who knows? On a house show, another title change could happen. And somebody could be out of it. I can honestly tell you that I cannot remember the last Survivor Series that I was this pumped up for. Last year, I thought I was on edge of just like, man, this is really cool. Goldberg's return, wrestling against Brock Lesnar. I bought into the Raw versus SmackDown matches that were going down with the men, the women, and the tag team matches. I honestly thought that it was going to be a really, really good show. Now here we are going into this year. I think honestly, just about every match has changed, but the best words to be put to this is that basically my buddy Ravi tweeted out today. Today Ravi was one of the many guys that I know that got WrestleMania tickets. Going to be completing the dream. Going to feel the magic of WrestleMania at WrestleMania 34 back in New Orleans. I hope for those guys that it honestly lives up to the hype that was WrestleMania 30. But Ravi said it best when he said, man, what did he say? If Survivor Series is this lit, how good do you think WrestleMania is going to be once WrestleMania finally gets here? I'm hoping, honestly, that WWE is not sort of blowing its load right here. I can tell you that, honestly, throughout the fall, with Hell in the Cell, with Shane McMahon coming back to wrestle, TLC, Kurt Angle having his return, Triple H, and a whole lot of other stuff going down at Survivor Series. I'm wondering if maybe, I'm not going to say WrestleMania isn't going to be WrestleMania as it starts to rain here, if you hear that in the background. But I am saying that, I don't really know what else they can do out there. Plus, the matches that we're hearing for WrestleMania, I'm just saying it is what it is. When I look at this show of Survivor Series, awesome tag match between the Raw and SmackDown tag champions, the Usos, going up against Cesaro and Sheamus. We've seen this match in the past. Doesn't mean that it's not going to be good. You got four guys, two teams that really know tag team wrestling, really good at it, and they're going to go out there and they're going to give us a barn burner right here. Awesome backstory to this, but it was Raw versus SmackDown. Although I do believe that they were because Cesaro and Sheamus were still on Raw then. Never mind. Scratch that. These were the final two teams that were in last year's Survivor Series tag match. It was the Usos against Cesaro and Sheamus to finish it out. And I think it was Cesaro and Sheamus getting the win over the Usos, but I think that Cesaro got him to tap out, if I remember 100% right. The Neville match, not Neville, what's his name? Enzo match. Enzo and Kalisto. I still think that Enzo's going to win that match. Nothing really big to go on about that. You've got, your multi-women match. Now you've got an empty spot in there with Charlotte getting the win. I would guess Natalya is going to just be taking that spot. But if that was an easy guess and Natalya was going to get moved into there, they'd already have her up on the screen at WWE.com on the Survivor Series page. Lots of stories going on about Paige's return to wrestling. She was at Monday Night Raw. She was backstage. Why she wasn't used, I don't know. Maybe she'll be joining the SmackDown team after all. And when you move on from there, what is there to say about the men's match that hasn't been said before? Triple H returning. Kurt Angle's going to be wrestling for the second month in a row. Just all the biggest names in WWE, from John Cena, Randy Orton, Shane McMahon's going to be wrestling. This is going to be a really, really good match. Plus, you really fill it out with, guys like Samoa Joe, Finn Balor, Braun Strowman, really, really big names on there. When you look at your championship matches to finish it out, you've got AJ versus Brock. What more do you need to say about that? I mean, that's something that's probably been drawn up on 1,000, best of, or maybe even like dream match situations. Even with, Brock was doing his thing in WWE and AJ was still over in WWE, thinking that it might, maybe a guy like that is really fast and he's got lots of action in his match, can really ground Brock Lesnar and actually take him off his game in order to get that done. Plus, Natalya, she got beat on SmackDown. Charlotte is your new champion. I really wanted that title change to happen at Starrcade, even though that's going to be a house show. What a great moment that would be. Even if we would have to wait until like a Charlotte Flair DVD got made somewhere down the road, or Divas Revolution, or something like that. They did just about everything that I thought, when the show first got announced. Honestly, they did just about everything that I thought they would do for Starrcade, and they ended up doing it on SmackDown. Bringing back Ric Flair, putting him on television, living off that buzz from 30 for 30 and the ESPN coverage, was a really, really great moment. But I think it would have been better if it was in Greensboro. All in all, this is going to be a really good show. We got some corrections to make for the full show preview. I'll make those and tape them all together. But besides for that, peace out. I'll see you guys down the road. All right, as we power along with the WWE Survivor Series 2017 coverage, we're talking about The Miz going up against Baron Corbin, Raw versus SmackDown Intercontinental Champion versus United States Title Champion. Sort of a very interesting matchup. Easiest thing to sort of pick up on is that both of these guys are heels. That is something that's going to come up in a few of these matches. I think almost all of these singles matches, all the heels are champions at this time right now, except for AJ Styles. That's really weird now that I think about it. WWE hasn't been one to really jump on heel versus heel matches. It's sort of, in storylines to build up the bigger matches. They've done baby faces versus babyface match to sort of name a number one contender. Somebody going after the title. You can remember this sort of mini feud that was John Cena versus Dean Ambrose, both beating each other up to try and figure out who was going to be the one who beat up Seth Rollins on pay-per-view. But I think they even had a contract on a pole match on Monday Night Raw. But this is a very interesting match. Baron Corbin has been doing a lot of his talking on Twitter, talking about the Miz's wife Maurice, as well as Miz's soon-to-be-born baby girl. And then Miz fired back on Raw, basically talking about, the way that Baron Corbin was talking was for the indies. And then basically that wasn't a big league promo like the Miz could deliver. And Miz really did knock it out of the park, talking about Baron Corbin. But we have not seen these guys interact. We've never seen these guys. We've probably never even seen these guys in the same room together. So I think that this is going to be a really interesting match for the fact that, most people are going to be doubting on this, and I would bet if you listen to most people's prediction videos, they're going to be saying that Miz versus Corbin will probably be the dud of the night. But I believe in the Miz, that I don't think he's going to let us down. I think that he will knock this match out of the park, and I think Baron Corbin is somebody that slowly is going to become somebody that people are talking about. Definitely the buzz that Baron Corbin has been getting as of late, if you go back throughout the summer before SummerSlam, him holding the Money in the Bank briefcase, but then losing it shortly before SummerSlam, then not even beating John Cena in a no contest style match. There was no stipulations to it. Cena easily could have lost that match before going off to make Daddy's Home 2 or whatever film he was making at the time. But he did disappear, and Cena still got the win, and people thought it was because of the way Baron Corbin was handling himself backstage. I never really believed those stories at all. As of right now, there's a story floating around about Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens being sent home from the European tour, which I don't buy anything of it. All these stories that always come out that people have heat backstage and people aren't getting along, and the writers are going to, start, not giving guys pushes because they're not getting along in the locker room. I've never really bought into any of those stories that ever come out, unless you just really hear it in an interview. Like when, at the time, Alberto Del Rio just flat out said in a radio interview, he wished he could punch The Miz in the face. He is that annoying. But when it comes to this match, I think that honestly you're going to have to play the numbers game. You're going to have to pick which side is your side because of the whole SmackDown versus Raw. Somebody has to be the baby face. Somebody has to be the heel here. I'm going to be guessing that The Miz is going to pick up the win, more than likely. The Axeman, Curtis Axel, as well as Bo Dallas will play into this with the Miztourage, and Monday Night Raw will get the win here with Miz being the best mid-card champion, holding the Intercontinental title high, and having bragging rights for the next year. Alright, what is up everybody? This is Stevie Breach coming to you here today. We need to do a correction video on the women's Elimination Survivor Series match for WWE Survivor Series 2017. When I made the video for it last week, basically at the time, we had the last spot on the Monday Night Raw side in order to figure out. I think we all knew that it was going to be Bayley. At the time it was announced that Bayley was going to have a three-way with Dana Brooke and Mickie James for the last spot on the team. And if that was the only move that was going to happen, I think I just would have let that be, because I did guess correct that Bayley was going to get the spot on Monday Night Raw. She did. But on SmackDown, Charlotte Flair, a member of SmackDown's elimination team, ended up winning the championship, which bumped up her in order to have a match against Alexa Bliss to complete the Raw versus SmackDown women's championship holder match. So now there is a spot open on the SmackDown side. I think that honestly the easiest person in order to place into that match would be the former champion Natalya, since she is not booked on the show now. But them leaving that spot open is going to have a lot of people in WWE wondering, what is going on with that. This week at Monday Night Raw, Paige made her return to the main roster. She was not used on the show, but she was in Atlanta at the show, where more than likely she was going over plans for her in the future, what they have for her, what she is going to be doing, when she will be actually wrestling again, whether that's house shows or on television. Does Paige make the jump? Does Paige join SmackDown? As of right now, Paige is a member of the Monday Night Raw team, but easily, she hasn't been on television in, I think that we haven't seen Paige since her 2 suspensions, which means I don't think we would have seen her in over a year. I think those suspensions both came in the month of August last year, if I'm close to being correct. And that was a long time ago. I'm thinking that if she wants to show up on SmackDown, Daniel Bryan wants to bring her in, I think that would make sense for her to take that last spot on that team, and it would give SmackDown an edge in that match to have a competitor as good as Paige. If it ends up being Natalya, Natalya is really no pushover herself. She is the former champion. She would lock up with the Monday Night Raw side really, really well. I think that when I did pick who was going to win this match, I picked that basically everyone would eliminate everybody, and then hopefully Ronda Rousey would show up. But I don't remember who I picked in order to win the match. Maybe I thought that Ronda Rousey was just going to run in and beat everybody up, and there would be no finish to the match. If there is going to be a finish, honestly, when you look at the sides, Bayley, Alicia Fox, Sasha Banks, Nia Jax, and Asuka. If it's a straight up match with no Ronda Rouseys, nothing like that, I think that honestly you got to go with the Raw side, especially with Charlotte not being involved right now. The Raw side is too stacked, and they got to be able to pull the win here. Alright, this video here is going to be nothing more than me speaking off of what I think is going to be happening. There is no rumor that is going to be out there, but we all heard the rumor that basically what was supposed to be at Survivor Series 2017 was supposed to be the Four Horsewomen of WWE going up against, Ronda Rousey, Shayna Baszler, and the other two, the Four Horsewomen of MMA. Since then, we have had Ronda Rousey training at the WWE Performance Center. Shayna Baszler is signed with WWE. I can honestly tell you, I don't know what the buzz is on the other two, if they've been signed by WWE, if they've just been training, or if they still fight in MMA. I was never able to pick their names up from being an MMA fan. I just knew that Shayna Baszler, from her making her jump from wrestling, from being in the UFC prior. But the rumor has always been that match is going to be happening. If you remember the women's tournament that went down, which was the Mae Young Classic. In the second round, during a Shayna Baszler fight, we had the Four Horsewomen of WWE. We had Becky Lynch, we had Charlotte, we had Sasha Banks, and we had Bayley sort of storm towards the ring, issuing the challenge to Ronda Rousey and her crew, basically saying that they were the real Four Horsewomen, they were the ones to mess with, and they were going to be stepping into WWE, they were going to have to go through them. In this video, I will be sort of playing out what I think is going to be happening, leading us to gaining ground towards this match, which is if it's going to be Charlotte versus Ronda Rousey, whether if it's going to be a 4-on-4 affair, if that's going to happen at WrestleMania. I think this is going to be step 2 to get us to that match. I could honestly see Bayley being named to Team Raw. Then I see Asuka, Alicia Fox, and Nia Jax being eliminated from Team Raw. And I see basically it coming down to a 2-on-2 encounter with Naomi. We see Tamina, and we see Carmella being eliminated from Team SmackDown as well. This leaving us with the Four Horsewomen in the ring. We have Charlotte, we have Becky Lynch for Team SmackDown, we have Becky Lynch, and we have Sasha Banks, and we have Bayley for Team Raw. This leads for, I guess you can say, the invasion of the Four Horsewomen, now storming towards the ring at Survivor Series. Now they are reissuing the challenge back at the Women of Wrestling, and we are one step closer to this match actually happening. Ronda Rousey appearing at Survivor Series will be, quote unquote, WWE ESPN news that will be headlined almost everywhere. We are one step actually seeing her in a WWE ring. Since leaving UFC, people have still been clamoring to see what is coming next for her. I had heard that the planned movies that she was supposed to shoot, the Roadhouse remake as well as the biopic film on her life, were both sort of scrapped by Hollywood. That happens a lot, after you sort of fall out of favor with the world, and her being shocked with that first loss and not being able to come back and win her next. I guess sort of ended that streak for Ronda Rousey. So best of luck to her in WWE, but I think that she will be showing up at Survivor Series. Hey, what is up everybody? This is Stevie Breach coming to you here today. We're going to be doing a correction video on the WWE Survivor Series 2017 full show preview. We had a title change this week on SmackDown. Charlotte Flair, she was able to win the championship back from Natalya. Honestly, in my mind, I really thought that this was going to be done at Starrcade. When Starrcade was first announced, I was hoping that it was going to be a WWE Network special. I honestly thought it was. I thought that's why they were doing it. But it ended up just being a house show. It's not going to be on television. I know one of my friends that annually goes to WrestleMania, he bought a ticket. He's going to be going to the show. I'm glad that I'm not the only one that bought into the hype, realizing how good of a show this was going to be. I'm really hyped for Starrcade, and you got a bull rope match. You've got freaking the Rock and Roll Express gonna be there. I still buy in. I still think it's going to be a really good one. But in my mind, when it was first announced and they said that Natalya was going to be wrestling against Charlotte Flair, I said this is where you do the title change. This is where you bring back Ric Flair. You have the moment where Flair comes out to congratulate Charlotte. Not only are you able to see Ric Flair for the first time, But Flair's able to be there, and to congratulate Charlotte Flair, the first time she wins the SmackDown Women's World, is it the SmackDown Women's World Heavyweight Championship, or is it just the SmackDown Women's Championship? I'm not sure. It could go either way, but maybe they might not be wanting to label, you know, the girls as heavyweights. But I think that this is still going to be a really good match. Charlotte going in there, wrestling against Alexa Bliss. They basically were traded for each other during the last. They didn't call it a brand split or a draft. They called it the what did they call the last one where they moved people around? Superstar Shakeup, I think is what it was. You know, I thought it was good because, you know, you didn't have the names jumbling around like a jukebox or like a slot machine. It took the stupidity out of it. You just sort of had people showing up, like, I guess like they were sort of drafted, but it was almost like they were sort of signed as free agents and brought over because they knew it would make their show better. Charlotte ran through everybody on the Monday Night Raw side when she was champion. Her moving over to SmackDown freshened her up. And honestly, when you look at Alexa Bliss, she beat a lot of people on SmackDown when she was champion. And her moving her over, I thought was sort of going to fizz her out. I mean, so many times over the history of times, we've seen people on SmackDown move to Raw, and it's sort of, they're not as over as they were on the other show. I mean, it happened to John Morrison, it happened to Edge, guys that were sort of World Heavyweight Champions of SmackDown were brought over to Raw, and they were sort of treated like they were a little bit better than the mid-card, but not good enough to be the main event. And it just got them sort of pigeonholed in a spot where nothing really important happened with them. I mean, they might use them in a main event if it was like a fatal four-way or something like that to even it out, but they were never that main guy in the championship picture. Honestly, when I think about this, when it was Natalya against Alexa, I thought that Alexa was going to get the win. I think that Charlotte has to get the win here, and I'm wondering if her putting the figure 4 onto Alexa would weaken her up enough in order to have Carmella run in and do the cash-in, which I still think was going to happen. James Ellsworth, with him getting his release from the company today, I think, you know, basically it opens up the door for her to move. It kills off all loose ends. Her having the Money in the Bank, you know, the rules are never really officially written. Anything can go down with that thing. Anybody who thinks you can't cash in, I mean, you know, basically, you know, Dolph Ziggler, what happened? He was gonna, when Dolph Ziggler was the Money in the Bank guy, I think he was on SmackDown, and he had a match with Dolph Ziggler. No, Dolph Ziggler had the ladder match at TLC with John Cena, who was a Raw guy. Unless I'm way off on my times, in that, you know, it would have jumped hands that way. So, whatever. Maybe I'll make my own video on Ellsworth, but, you know, tip your hat to that guy. His run in WWE honestly lasted a lot longer than I thought it was going to when I first saw him showing up. You know, the guy, you know, won Carmella the Money in the Bank, was Carmella's girlfriend. He was in WWE for, well, he was at TLC. TLC was in December, so that run probably started a month before. So he made it last about a year of good paydays. So you got to tip your hat to that guy. He was even tweeting on Twitter. He might have known then, but he knew that the end was coming soon. And even if he would have not got released today with him breaking up with Carmella, you know, if he did continue his run with WWE, he wasn't really going to be going anywhere. I mean, he's a guy you can't really put in singles matches. If you go back and remember what happened with Brad Maddox, you can find a spot to use him, like as a authority figure or something, but those spots are pretty much all spoken up for right now, and I'm not sure really what girl you can put him with to have another sort of managerial role on the roster. At WWE Survivor Series 2017, I am predicting we see the first ever cash-in of the women's Money in the Bank briefcase. Carmella has been carrying around that briefcase since June, when I guess she officially won it at the end of June on SmackDown, when the second ever Money in the Bank women's ladder match was held. You know, oh, that's my pizza. When this video is done, you got to remind me to go grab that. But I am thinking that Alexa Bliss is going to be walking out of Survivor Series with her hand held high, that she is going to be the one beating Carmella. No, she's going to be the one that is going to be beating Natalya. I was wondering why I screwed up so bad right there. But Carmella, in my mind, will come down. She will cash in the Money in the Bank briefcase on Alexa Bliss. With watching SmackDown over this last week, we've seen Carmella come nowhere close to using that Money in the Bank briefcase. We've seen the man that's been in her corner get beat by Becky Lynch. And then after the fact, Carmella gave him the sweet chin music, basically giving him the big super kick, leaving him laying. In my mind, that is going to be cutting all ties with Ellsworth, and that she is, you know, free to move. And then when she does beat Alexa Bliss, she is able to move to Monday Night Raw as the new Raw Women's Champion. She will not have Ellsworth, and possibly won't be the one thing I was looking for from Survivor Series, was to see guys jump ship from SmackDown to Raw or from Raw to SmackDown. So at Survivor Series, I am predicting that we see our first ever cash-in for the Women's Championship. Hey, what is up, everybody? This is Stevie Breach coming to you here today. Yesterday, I made some updated videos for Survivor Series 2017 for the full show preview. Honestly, in my mind, I thought I talked about everything, but I forgot one of the matches for the Raw versus SmackDown affair that's going to be going down on Sunday. This is a match that honestly was put together on Monday and Tuesday this week. It was sort of just a way to use the Shield. I honestly was really surprised that they sort of would put this match together last minute. When I sort of look at this match, the New Day versus the Shield, it is a way to use the Shield in a six-man tag situation, which was really one of the major things that got these guys over when they first debuted in WWE back a few years ago. I can remember the matches that they had would just sort of make together teams like Sheamus, Randy Orton, and John Cena. There was different factions of like Team Hell No and Ryback. Tried to put together to beat these guys, and they stomped over everybody. They even, you know, ran into the Wyatts. They had a few six-man tags along the way. That was probably one of the biggest, I honestly want to say one of the biggest six-man feuds they had, because of the fact that the Wyatts were a three-man group at the time. But to me, when I think about New Day going up against the Shield, I don't get it. I know that this pay-per-view is sort of put together of a lot of, you know, heel versus heel matches or babyface versus babyface matches, but this one truly is a head-scratcher to me. I know that when the Shield was put back together, at the time we thought it was to fight the Miz Siraj, and that sort of turned into Miz, Cesaro, and Sheamus, and then it also added in, you know, Braun Strowman and Kane. Then at the last minute, you know, Roman Reigns got injured and was not able to wrestle in the match and was replaced by Kurt Angle. They made a lot of Shield t-shirts. They planned on them going on the European tour. But from what I heard was that Roman Reigns got the mumps. He basically got sick. He wasn't able to do the tour. And they had to sort of put it together the best they could. Sometimes it was with Kurt Angle. Sometimes it was Samoa Joe. And sometimes it was Triple H filling in the place of Roman Reigns, in order to send the fans home happy on that European tour. Now here we are, we come stateside. I really wish that they sort of would have waited a month. I know that Monday Night Raw doesn't have another pay-per-view until the Royal Rumble, and maybe they have plans for something to go on there. I think that Roman Reigns has to win the Royal Rumble this year for him to fight Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania, which I think is the plan that they're working with right now. But they could have, you know, played out a Shield angle, you know, for the month of December and the month of January. to get us to the Royal Rumble and got what they wanted to out of the Shield, as well as make those people flip over from Monday Night Football. A lot of times the football games come near the end of the year. They don't have the same impact as the games at the beginning, because a lot of teams just start losing and sucking, and the matchups that they put together sometimes aren't what we thought they were going to be back before football started. I don't really know what to think about this match. I know that the Shield has to win. I know that basically the Shield, when they work their six-man tags, they do a style of their matches which are always the same, where they pretty much focus on one member of the team and take them out. Where basically I would guess that Xavier Woods would be the weakest member of the team, that they would take Xavier out. And it doesn't matter how, the aerial moves of Kofi Kingston and how fast he is, or the power of Biggie Langston, that's not going to be able to overcome a 2-on-3 matchup with Xavier Woods pretty much taken out of it. That's always how the Shield has worked their matches, and they've always been really, really good, so I hope they don't get away from it. I know that this is the first of probably many six-man tags for Roman, for Ambrose, and for Rollins. I just sort of wish, honestly, that it didn't have to happen like this, because I wish that they could have had a better matchup for the first one. The TLC one, I was hyped for it. I thought that it was the only match on the TLC show that was worth watching. So we'll have to see what goes down at Survivor Series. Out of all the changes that happened to WWE Survivor Series 2017, honestly, in my mind, the Raw Tag Team Championship switch that happened on Monday was, to me, honestly, the most really surprising one. We had Cesaro and Sheamus become the 3-time Tag Team Champions, I do believe, by beating Ambrose and Rollins. I know that there was plans for the Shield reunion at TLC. I don't know where those plans were supposed to go, and I think a lot of the WWE Survivor Series 2017 changes have because they obviously had something for the Shield to do on this show, whether if that was represent Team Raw or anything like that. I got no clue what they were supposed to do. I think that now with Roman returning on Monday Night Raw, maybe something will be coming up sooner than later. And maybe they'll even be on this Survivor Series show. But taking them out of this Ambrose and Rollins versus the Usos match, I was hyped. I mean, that was one of the matches that really put me over the top, thinking that Survivor Series was going to be a really, 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 really good show. I know that last year's Survivor Series with the Raw versus SmackDown elimination matches really got me going for it. Goldberg versus Brock Lesnar snuck up on me as something that I was excited for. But even when I look at Cesaro versus Sheamus, Cesaro and Sheamus challenging against the Usos, I think this is going to be a really, really good match. I think that, in my mind, we've seen this match before, so maybe I'm not that, ecstatic about it. But I still think that, Cesaro and Sheamus, when they first came into the tag division, I didn't think it was going to last this long. I thought they would just run an angle where they won the titles, and Mick Foley would look like a genius, and then over time, these guys would break up. I believe at WrestleMania, when they went into their match, and I think they wore the same attire for the first time, or at least that was the first time I noticed them wearing the same attire, is when the bar got raised, and you really was like, wow, they've taken these roles, and they're really going to run with it. Sheamus, a former champion, Cesaro, a former United States champion. Both of these guys have a lot to offer to WWE, but them coming into the tag division was really something that was a surprise that really got us over. No one should be surprised about the Usos. I mean, these guys have been doing it strong for years in WWE, but this run that they've been on ever since sort of reinventing themselves, I don't know what to call them. If I know I've seen their videos of them on Talking Smack with this to sort of rapping gimmick or whatever this gimmick is of just taking it to the streets and just being badasses. That's really what they are. And the match that they had at Hell in the Cell, going up against the New Day, showed that these guys are able to do anything they want to keep those championships and show everybody that they're the best. At Survivor Series, I'm going to be taking the Usos to get this win here. I'm not sure if they're going to be using Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, and Dean Ambrose, the Shield, that they're going to have a match, I guess you could say the New Day, for causing them to lose those titles. But if not, I see them being involved in this match, making sure that they're on the radar to get those tag titles back as soon as they can. So take Usos to get the win at Survivor Series. Alright, what is up, everybody? This is Stevie Breach coming to you here today with the final correction video for the WWE Survivor Series 2017 full show preview. This one is going to be for the, I guess you can say, my main event. I still think that the men's elimination match, which might not go on last, is still the biggest match on the card. A lot of people will be sort of, pointing the finger at AJ versus Brock Lesnar, which I think is going to be a really, really good match. But in my opinion, I really think that the men's match has a lot to offer, and it's only gotten better since it was first announced. I can remember back when Kurt first made the announcement, and he said that he was going to name his team before Raw did their run-in and beat everybody up. I think that this is going to be really fun. I remember that SmackDown announced that Randy Orton was going to join the team, and then that was about it for the longest time. I still don't even know how Shane got named onto this team, but people were right. I'll tip my hat to them. People were making predictions that Shane was going to wrestle, and Kurt Angle would be involved in the match. People did say Daniel Bryan as well, but Shane got put in the match. And Stephanie ended up putting Kurt Angle in to be the leader of the team. Really, really fun stuff to go with this match. But as of right now, them adding Triple H, the best wrestler that's ever been in WWE, honestly, in my opinion. I love that dude no matter what. Him wrestling with Kurt Angle, you add Finn Balor, you add Samoa Joe, Braun Strowman. That's a tough team right there. They're going to be going up against some badasses themselves. You got Shane McMahon, John Cena, Randy Orton, Shinsuke Nakamura, and I like how they also added Bobby Roode to the team. Dolph Ziggler was the guy when they had their singles match that I thought would get the nudge in order to get in there. Ziggler's in a weird spot, man. I mean, it's just kind of weird how he just always ends up on the shit end of the stick. He goes out there, he wrestles great matches all the time, and just, I don't know, man. I mean, he's never able to, I guess you could say, win the big one or get over to be in that main event spot. It's just like he's higher on the card than Dolph Ziggler, but he doesn't have anywhere else to go. Team Raw, honestly, in my opinion, is going to have to get over themselves in order to win this match. As of right now, SmackDown, with having all baby faces on their side, you got to be wondering, how they're not going to win this. Strowman is a guy that doesn't really play well with others. He doesn't play well with anybody, honestly. But Finn Balor and Samoa Joe, they got put on this team. They were fighting each other when they got put on the team. So what are they going to be able to do to work together? That's got to be a big question. Triple H and Kurt Angle, there has to be a motive for Triple H to be put on the team, especially when Stephanie put the stipulation on the line that if Angle lost this match, that Angle would lose his job, and that's honestly a really, really big deal to see who's how they're going to be able to balance that out. I mean, if Triple H is the reason that he screws over Kurt Angle and they lose the match, do they just laugh and walk to the back and the Authority is back in charge of Monday Night Raw? Because I can honestly tell you that right now, that's going to make a lot of people mad. that's not going to make you any friends with wrestling fans at all. I think this is going to be a good one. Like I said earlier, this is my main event. It makes it a little bit better. And this should be really fun. Cena makes his return since he lost at No Mercy, a match that honestly a lot of people thought was his retirement from WWE, that he would be, walking away from wrestling, the way that he, sat in the ring and just really took it in. So Cena needs to have a good showing in this match where people think that he can, win the big one. If he's not one of the final members of Team SmackDown, you got to be, you know why they bring him back. I mean, he's obviously the biggest star in WWE, but why bring him back in order just to lose? Do they start setting up a WrestleMania angle for John Cena, or is John Cena's WrestleMania just sort of going to be used in the mid-card yet once again? If you go back over the years, you got Cena, at 30, he was wrestling against Bray Wyatt, 31 against Rusev, 32, he was injured, used in the little thing with the Wyatts and The Rock, which wasn't a real match. And last year being used against The Miz in the mixed tag match, which was basically a setup for Total Bellas and Total Divas. It is what it is, so, But I'm really looking forward to a good one. I think this is going to be a good match. You got to take Team SmackDown for the win, though. Peace out, everybody. The match with the most changes at WWE Survivor Series 2017, as of right now, looks like it's billed as the main event, pushing itself above the Raw versus SmackDown 5-on-5 men's match. Jinder Mahal's out. AJ Styles, your new SmackDown champion, is going to be challenging against your Universal Champion, Brock Lesnar. This is one hell of a match. This right here is another one of those WrestleMania dream matches that WWE has been delivering us the last few months. People thought they were crazy when they gave us Nakamura versus Cena. People thought they were crazy when we got Cena versus Reigns. We got AJ going up against Finn Balor. But Brock versus AJ is a match that I honestly never thought was going to happen. Either, SmackDown would keep AJ Styles at bay and he would never cross paths with Brock Lesnar, or just WWE would never pull the trigger on it. In my mind, I think that Brock Lesnar, the only competitor I can think of that he's had, like AJ Styles, would have to be the Beast in the East match against Kofi Kingston. And that one didn't go that well for Kofi Kingston. Definitely, AJ is going to have to use speed and his style to sort of keep Brock at bay. They're not going to be able to, get close, because anytime Brock is able to wrap AJ in his arms, he's going to throw him. He's going to toss him German suplex style. Definitely, this match is a more sexy, more appealing match than the Jinder Mahal match was going to be. I don't see how that match was going to last longer than 2 to 3 minutes. It was going to be like a WWE Superstars squash style match in my mind. Even if the Singh brothers, even if the Great Khali came, how in the world could you possibly see Jinder Mahal doing any offense to Brock Lesnar? Jinder Mahal being the one who brought the fire to this match did not make any sense at all. I really think that this is going to be a good one. The biggest surprise that could come out of this match would be AJ Styles beating Brock Lesnar. That does make a lot of sense to me, in the fact that, SmackDown did just name him champion, and for him to beat Jinder Mahal and then you turn around and lose to Brock doesn't make much sense. But then again, this could just be the biggest clusterfuck match of all time if this is the true main event, because of the fact that, it is for brand supremacy, and who wants to see their champion not be as good as the other champion. Plus, in the back of your mind, you got to be wondering what is going on with SmackDown not using Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn on their Survivor Series match. So how do they get involved? Do they get involved in the 5-on-5, screwing with Shane? Or do they have bigger fish to fry and want to say that they're going after the biggest prize out there, and they start messing with AJ to where, Brock gets caught up and Brock ends up getting the victory here? Definitely, you have to keep in your back of your mind, what is going on with Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens, with them being the biggest story at Hell in a Cell a month later at Survivor Series. It doesn't make sense for them not to be used. I know a lot of people out there believing this sort of story that's out there on the internet right now, that they got sent home from the European tour. They have this, sort of heat built up against them. I don't put any stock into that story at all. One way or another, maybe they left, maybe they didn't leave, maybe they were supposed to get beat up after their match on SmackDown, maybe they weren't. But I don't think that Sami and Kevin Owens are disgruntled. I don't think that they're arguing with people on the SmackDown bus. I don't know why people would make up a story like that, but I just don't believe the story that is out there until there is significant proof about it. I don't think that either one of these guys are going to be, yeah, they're friends with Neville, yeah, they're friends with Jimmy Jacobs, but are they really ready to get fired in order to do it? Even if, people put up the story basically saying that, look at all the money that the Young Bucks, Kenny Omega are making on the outside. They could go out, they could work indies with their names, and, sell lots of t-shirts, make lots of dates. I'm not quite sure that they want to go out and live that life again. So that's just me. Maybe they get involved in that 5-on-5. Maybe they get involved in this match. But, all I can really say on this is that this is a dream match. And to go from Jinder Mahal versus Brock, a match that nobody cared about besides for Assault and Battery 777, for him to make that video saying that Jinder was actually going to beat Brock clean was comical. And for him to have to come back a day later and make a video basically saying that AJ beat him and that Jinder wasn't the champion again, made it even more funny. What happens from here? Jinder is named to have a match in India against Kevin Owens on I believe it's a Monday Night Raw show over there. That's not going to be on Raw. It's just going to be their brand. But they're sending him over there for the I guess you can say the rub. Maybe plans change. Maybe they do Jinder versus AJ. And maybe we see another title change, another title hold for Jinder. I don't put in any stock in that. I don't put in any stock in that at all. Jinder was an experimental champion. I hope that everything that they were going for in India they got. I hope that they are able to acquire one hell of a television contract. I hope that they, got sold out shows, however many days of tour they're going. But I don't think anybody, United States, India, Europe, anywhere, wants to see Jinder Mahal be champion again. But this match right here, Brock versus AJ, it's going to deliver. It's going to be one hell of a match. A minute ago I picked AJ to win it, but I don't think it's going to happen. But I'm going to stick with it. Stick with the guns right here. AJ Styles to beat Brock, Survivor Series 2017.